Hey guys, this is Dan Strong with ExcelVbaIsFun. Today we've got an exciting lesson and we're going to explore several different ways to manipulate or control the Userform's text box. And what we want to do is we want to restrict what the users can type. So we may only want to allow numerals, we may only want to allow certain types of text or characters in a field, or we might want to just include only something numeric, but it may include commas and decimal points. So we're going to show you different ways to restrict that. And so let's go ahead and begin by going into the Visual Basic Editor. Of course, we're going to hit Alt F11 if we're on the Windows computer. So click here, Alt F11. If you're on a Mac, sorry, Userforms are not ready for editing. You might want to use Parallels or Boot Camp in order to manipulate a userform. Can I still run a userform if I'm using a Mac that was perhaps designed on a Windows computer? Yes, you can. Anyway, to get into the Visual Basic Editor, you're going to hit Option F11, or you might have to hit the Function key while pressing Option F11 on a Mac. But again, you can't really use a userform in design mode right now on a Mac, only on a Windows computer. For some reason, they haven't designed that just yet. Anyway, go ahead and click on Userform when you're in the Visual Basic Editor. That's this drop down here. Go to Userform. Here's our brand new userform. Let's give ourselves a little space to work with here. Right now, this is called Userform 2 because Userform 1 is what I did testing on, okay? This workbook will be downloadable if you want to check out that. Go ahead and click on the link in the description. But for now, let's go ahead and dive in. What I want to do to this userform, I'm going to go to my Properties window. You can hit F4 if you don't have your properties, or you can go to Edit Properties to get that window. But I'm going to change the back color just really quick. We're not going to focus a lot on design because this isn't about design. But I'm going to right-click on the bottom here and right-click so I can get a special custom color. And we're going to go with something maybe in the greenish. That looks cool. So there's our back color. Now it's not going to have those grid dots. When you run it, when you run the form, it'll look nice and smooth like this. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I want to put a text box. So I don't see my toolbox. I may need to go to View and get the toolbox to come out and play. There's our toolbox. So the first thing I want is a text box. I'm going to click there. And then I might want a label, in fact, to the left of it, just so we know what we're dealing with here. So here's my label. I'm going to click there. Now, by default, the back style is taking on the back color. The back color is taking on the userform's back color. But we could change that if we wanted. I'm not going to. So the first method we're going to talk about, right now we're going to talk about numbers only. We only want numbers to be able to be entered into our text box. And later we'll try to get only text or only lowercase or things like this. And we'll explain how that works. All right, so first of all, this is going to be the exit event, or actually I would probably prefer the before update event. So we'll call this one the before update mode, okay? Now this is a standard validation method for a text box on a cell or a text box of any kind, and that is on exit intent, or basically when they want to exit, click away, tab away, or finalize the cell. Then they want to analyze the entire thing to see if it is good enough. So that's what we're going to do, and let's give it something to click onto. So if I'm here and I type something or other and I hit tab, that's the exit intent. That is me trying to exit this to go to this. So whether I click away, tab away, whatever, it's going to be what we're going to use. So let's double click on our user form once it's exited in the design mode here. I'm going to double click on the form, and I'm not going to rename this. I could rename this one TB exit intent or something like this, but we're just going to go text box 1, then 2, then 3. I'm not going to rename them. Normally I would if I'm going to use those names in reference to them. All right, so on the text box 1, not the change event. No. We're going to go to the before update event. And the difference is before update occurs whenever you're trying to click away, but it's different than exit because it can be canceled. It can be reverted back to the value it was prior to trying to exit it. Okay, so here's the before update event. Now what we're going to do with this is we're going to introduce you to something called the like function. So the like function is when you take one thing and then you say if this is like this particular pattern. So in this case, why don't we do a debug.print, and we'll just say is 1 like this pattern. This pattern is a string of text that is actually the number sign. So is the number 1 like this pattern a single digit? And in fact, it is. In fact, instead of doing that in the before update, let's do it in our immediate window down here. So I'm going to click here and just print it. Now, if I hit enter, it's going to say either true or false. Now, we know that the digit 1 is a single digit, so this will be true. So that's fine. Now, what if I did 2-digit code? Is the single digit 1 like this pattern? If I hit enter, now it's saying false. Well, what if I did something like this, 1-9? Now, that does match the pattern of 2 digits, right? So 1-9 is like this pattern. So if I hit enter, once again, it's true. So what we want to do in this first method of many methods to do that is we're going to see if we can get something to count however many digits are entered into our text box. 1, 2 digits. And then we're going to make a string that has that many number signs. And we'll say, is this like that other thing? So here's what we're going to do. So we're going to say the current value of whatever's in the text box is equal to me.textbox1. Now remember, me is always taking on the container that you're in. So in this case, it means userform2. Me.textbox1 is the same as saying userform2.textbox1. So we're going to trap the value, first of all. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the length of whatever cval is, or whatever the textbox1 value is. So we're going to say c length is equal to the len function, the length of cval. And then we're going to use the string function to actually internalize that number. The number, in this case, it was 2 different digits, 2 digits long. So clen would be 2 digits in that case. And then we're going to make a string that takes 1, 2 of these characters, and however many long your text is, that's how many numeral signs there are. So we're going to say num signs equals string function. Now, what's the number that we're going to use? Are we going to hard code this to 1 or 19 or something like that? No, we're going to hard code this to whatever the variable clen is. Or not hard code, but we're going to code it that way, all right? So if this was 2 digits long, if it was 19 digits long, it's all going to be contained in clen. Now, what character are we going to repeat with the string function? Well, we're going to repeat the number sign. So let's see what that does so far. I'm going to put a breakpoint right about here by clicking there, and let's go ahead and open this up. And I'm going to put 1999 and hit tab. Okay, the tab function triggers the before update code. And we put a breakpoint here, so let's see what's going on here. The value is 1999. Okay, great. Now what about the length? The length of 1999 is 4 digits long, so that became clen. Clen equals 4, okay? So we're going to take the string function, 4 digits long, of the number sign. So if I hit F8 now, num signs is pound, 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 pound. Well, that's exactly what we need to do the like trick that we just did a moment ago. So this is the first technique. We're going to say if the cval, remember that's the value variable that we used to take on the value of our text box. So if that current text, we'll pretend it was the number 19 or whatever we had before, if the current value is like, remember that like operator does some magical things whenever you use either, in this case we would have to make it pound, 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 but we're going to use a variable. What variable should we use? Well, you're saying it in your head, aren't you? We're going to use num signs. If that is true, then we will proceed. We will go ahead and, well, basically do nothing. We're not going to change anything or cancel it out. But else, we're going to make cancel equals true. Okay, now cancel is a built-in thing for this particular event, which tells it to go ahead and not accept the value and not allow them to exit that cell. It's going to take them right back there and say, hey, you actually can't leave this cell right now. That's what cancel equals true does. So it's really cool. So let's go back to this and let's hover our mouse. So if 1999 is like this pattern, pound, 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 then do nothing, which it is going to do nothing. It's going to go to the very end. Okay, but what if that were not so? So what if we put the letter D in there and I click away? Okay, that triggered the before update event, didn't it? So the length, the value is 1999D, and the length of that is going to be 5 digits long. And using the string function, of course, that makes pound, 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 5 of the pound signs, right? But something's not right here, and we're about to see that. 1999D, if that is like this pattern of pound, 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 or 5 consecutive digits, and it's not like that. One of them was not a digit, so cancel equals true, meaning if we take a look at our user form now, you see that I clicked here, but it didn't allow the click. Now, what if I take off this breakpoint? We'll see what's going on. If I try to click here, it won't let me. If I hit the tab key, it won't let me. Okay, now that doesn't tell the user much, so I'm going to exit the user form, and I'm going to basically say, right before the cancel equals true, we're going to do a little message to give them a heads up. Only use numbers. Or you could say, please only use numbers. Try again, or something like this, okay? That will explain to them why they're about to be canceled out of tabbing or clicking away. Let's try it again. So 19, tab, it's fine with that. But what if I do 19D, tab, only use numbers? And if I hit OK, I will quickly note that it is not taken me there. But incidentally, if you wanted to have it automatically highlight all of these numbers instead of just click right where they were, here's how you can do that. Oh, telling me that error again. So this is just a cool little quick trip. I know this is going to extend the video length, but I don't care. If you like really cool tips, then you may want to stick around for this. Otherwise, skip ahead, half a minute or something. But anyway, so if we wanted to go ahead and highlight entire text, we would do something like this. So with me.textbox1, because we're going to do a with end with statement. That way I don't have to retype me.textbox1, me.textbox1, me.textbox1. We only have to type it once. And in regards to me.textbox1, here's what we're going to do. We're going to say dot select length. Actually, the start is going to, cell start is going to be equal to 0. Dot selected length is going to be equal to the length of it all. Now I could do the len of me.textbox1 or the len of dot value, but I could just use clen, which I've already trapped the length. So there's no point in getting that again. The length of it, so our starting point of the selection is 0, or the very, very, very beginning, and the entire length of our selection is going to be the length of it all. And then, of course, I don't even need to do dot set focus. Okay, because sometimes you do, but since I said cancel equals true, we already know that this cell is going to have the focus. But usually these three all work together in harmony. I will go ahead and comment that out and see if it works anyways. What that'll do is, so 19D, if I hit tab, I get this message, and now it highlighted the whole thing so I can start typing all over again. It highlighted the whole thing so I can start typing. And that will type over the entire thing. So that's a cool little quick tip. Okay, what if you didn't want to use the like operator for whatever reason you don't like that? Well, let's learn another technique, shall we? Okay, great. So, and not only that, but what if you didn't want to necessarily have this annoying pop-up that occurs whenever you have a character in there? Nobody likes pop-ups, okay? They're annoying. They get in the way. Users have to use their mouse and find the OK button, and users don't want to have to do that. So we're going to show you another technique. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're actually going to create another label. So I'm going to actually select this label. I'm going to hold the control with my left pinky, and I'm going to now click and drag, which will copy that label. All right, now I'm just going to click a couple times, take the text away, and I'm going to leave this blank for right now. In fact, I will give this a name because I am going to refer to it. So LBL, we'll just call this MSG, label message. This is our message that we're going to use. And let's extend that just a little bit in case it gets a little heavy. So this other technique that you might want to use is, in fact, you know what? Forget it. Let's actually, I want to leave this intact. I want to go ahead and copy this. So control click. I actually just copied that entire thing down. So now this is not going to, this is going to be before update, but this is going to be with a label. Okay. The first one was with a message box. Before update with message box, this is going to be with a label. Now this one, what we're going to do is we're going to, actually, I'm going to take all of that information that I worked on in the first one and copy it to TextBox 3. And of course, I don't want the change on with the before update event. Okay, so I'm going to paste that information now. And I'm going to get rid of the TextBox 3 change event. I don't need that. All right, so the TextBox 3 before update. So the value is going to be equal to TextBox 3 value, okay? And then I don't really need to highlight it or anything, so I'm going to take off the highlight part. Here's why. What we're going to do is we're not going to actually do a message box. We're merely going to update a label, and that is the one called me.lblmsg, or the message. So let's say if this was numeric, which is a success, then the label is going to say all good, or give them some kind of affirmation, or perhaps we'll just make sure that it's always blank if there's nothing to warn the user about. And now I'll copy that line, because the else is going to take the place, instead of a message box, we're going to do a label, which does not make them click the OK button. So if something's wrong, then we're going to say, please use only numbers. Okay, that's what the label will say every single time that they try to update this. And in fact, you don't have to use a before update. You could put that in the change event, and I'll show you why that might be a really good idea. So if I do 19 and I hit tab, it says all good when I try to exit. If I do 19D and I tab, it says please use only numbers, and it will not allow me to move away from there. So I mean, that's okay, but you might want to also do that with a change event instead of when they're trying to click away. So let's go ahead and make a change event, and I'll show you why that might be interesting. So I'm going to comment out the before update event with my comment block, and now we have a change event, which does the exact same thing, only it triggers every time I backspace, every time I hit a spacebar, or any keystroke at all. Anytime this text box changes at all, this will run and update the label for me. So even as I am typing, so if I do 1, 2, 3, it still says all good each time, but if I hit the letter D, it says please use only numbers. If I hit backspace, that's a change event, and now it says all good. So it's really cool. 19, ABC, ASDF, backspace, 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 all good. Okay, so that will tell them on the fly. So that's why I think that's really important to use. Now, let's show you another way to do this. Oh my gosh, another way, Dan, that's exciting. Well, I'm glad you're excited. I am too. So this way we're going to copy all three of these, including the label. I'm going to hold the control key with my left pinky and click and drag down, because we're going to make another one. Now, this method is going to be using the isNumeric method. Okay, the isNumeric is a built-in VBA function that will immediately tell you if something is numeric or not. So we'll do something similar. We're going to double-click on the TextBox 4 right here. And we can go ahead and use the same, the change event. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to say if me.textbox4 tab, if that, and now I'm going to use my isNumeric function. So here we go, isNumeric, open parentheses. And then I'm going to click here, close parentheses. And that's my function. If isNumeric, whatever the contents of that text box, then, and that's where I would say me.lbl. Actually, whoop, we forgot to, let's do end if. We forgot to name this new label that I copied. So we're going to call this one LBL MSG numeric. Okay, so now let's go back to here. This TextBox 4 change. This is essentially it. Now, the reason this is a little different than the like method is because the like method doesn't work with any decimals or commas. It doesn't like those. It only wants a consecutive number of digits. Okay, so isNumeric takes a little more consideration. It knows that humans like to use decimals, which is a period. It's technically a string, right? But it knows that we humans like to use the comma whenever we're using numbers. It helps us visualize, okay? But it's not technically a number, but it allows it with the isNumeric function. I'll show you why. So we're going to say is the text box contents of TextBox 4 numeric, then me.lbl message for the numeric function equals all good, and you've seen it all before, so I'll speed through this really quick, and I'll say else, so it's not numeric, me.lbl message numeric equals, Please only use numbers. And I'll paste that there. So, whoops. Let's go ahead and run this. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to type 1, 2, 3. If I do A, B, C, okay, I'm not really typing what I said, but it is working just the same. But consider this. If we use the before update with the label, and actually we put the change event on there last. So if I do 1, 2, 3 dot 98, it says please use only numbers because it's doing number, 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 and it's mad. But what if I do 1, 2, 3 dot 98? Well, the isNumeric function still thinks that's pretty fine. What if I did 1023.98? What if I put a comma separator right here? Comma. It likes that. This does not like it. Okay, that's the distinction. Now we're down to the wire. Now we're going to learn about something called the key press event, which is even cooler in my opinion, because now we're going to actually literally restrict what people can use. Yes, that's right. We're actually going to disable certain keystrokes, but only allow others. So let's see how that works, shall we? Let me save my progress before some random update or something occurs. I don't know. So I'm going to hit Alt F11, go back into there. Now I'm going to copy all 3 of these downward a little bit. Okay. I'll move this out of the way. So this is not going to be the isNumeric method. This is going to be key press method. Okay. This is going to be where we can actually control each and every keystroke, whether they are allowed or not. This is kind of the big finale because this is really cool in my opinion. But before we can actually understand how the key press method is going to work, we need to learn what ASCII keys are. So this is the information that a computer understands that some of these digits are. And ASCII is one particular library of different keys and their numerals that are associated with them. So the key press method tells you or analyzes the current keystroke that you just pressed, and it says whether they are the current number. So let's look at this ASCII chart. I'm going to zoom in just a wee bit. So the character 0, if you press it, the ASCII code for 0 is 48. Okay, that's how it knows which character it is. So they're actually in a nice little order, which is really convenient for our purposes. So 48 all the way through 57 are the numerals, which is really nice. And there's, let me zoom out just a bit. We also have 65 all the way to 90 are the capital letters. Okay, and then the lowercase letters are 97 all the way to 122. So you see that with some simple if-then statements, we can actually determine if the current thing that they pressed is within whatever range that we want it to be, and we can control that. Otherwise, we can cancel out the most recent keystroke as if it never were pressed. That's the trick. So let's do the first method, whereas we want to only maintain the digits. So that's simple. All we want to do is in the key press method, we want to make sure it's greater than or equal to 48, and it must be less than or equal to 57 for the key stroke. So let's hit Alt F11, go back here, and with double clicking on this text box, now of course the default is the change event. We don't really care about that. We want to do the key press event. So here we are. Let's get rid of the change event so we don't have too much in here. So with the key press event, you see that the key ASCII is something that is a variable that you can play with. Now that's the one that contains the current ASCII code of the current or most recent keystroke. So if we put the word stop there, oops, if we spell that right, if we put the word stop there, we can actually see what this does. So I'm going to press the number 8, for example. If you hover over key ASCII, we see that's the number 56. And you can see in the background that 8 is the number 56. So if you only wanted to allow the number 8, you could say if key ASCII equals 56, then fine. Otherwise, key ASCII equals 0. Anytime you put the key ASCII variable to 0 or empty, well then it does not allow the current keystroke. It ignores the current keystroke as if it never happened. So that's kind of the trick there. So let's scroll down just a wee bit, and here's what we're going to do. I'm going to say if I only wanted digits, for example. Now we can manipulate this in a minute, but I'm going to say if key ASCII is greater than or equal to 48, and key ASCII also must be less than or equal to 57, then and only then will I allow. Okay? Otherwise, key ASCII equals 0, or it's an empty thing, which means that it will not be allowed. So let's see what that does. I'm going to hit F5. Now let's erase everything here. So if I type the number 8, it analyzed that to see if that is within the bounds. If I do 9, it's fine with that. If I type the letter D, it's saying that's not allowed. Okay. Now, the only thing with that is it also is not allowing the period or the comma. So you would actually have to make an exception. You have to say, or if key ASCII equals 46, or key ASCII equals whatever the comma is, okay? So you'd have to make some exceptions if you wanted special characters. But the cool thing about that, as we've just seen, is that you can actually allow things on the fly while you're typing, and they'll visibly see that they do not appear even though they're mashing on those keys. It's really cool to play around with. So what if we do this one as key press method, and I'm going to say in parentheses no numbers, or excuse me, only numbers. Okay, now let's do another one. Actually, we didn't even need this label, did we? Excuse me, let's take that away. Let's just keep it simple. I'm going to control click, and now we're going to do another one. This time, we're going to say no numbers, okay? This is if you only wanted text. So this is where we're getting to the part where if you only wanted text, then here is some methodologies for you, okay? So we're going to go ahead and double click on this. We're going to change this to a key press event once again and get rid of the change event, which is the default, because we don't really care about that. All right, so here we go. We're going to mess with the key ASCII again, but this time we do not want any numerals, only text. Actually, there's a difference between only alphabet numbers or just saying no numerals, because no numerals is easy. You would just say whatever this statement is, you would just put it in parentheses and put the word not in front of it, and that would just say it would not allow any numerals, but it would allow anything else, an asterisk, a parentheses, a hyphen, anything. But if you only wanted A through Z, whether lower or uppercase, that's what we're actually going to do first, okay? So we're going to only do the A through Z. So it needs to be greater than or equal to 65 all the way to 90. So 65 to 90. Let's do that first. So we're going to say only A through Z, lower or upper. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to say if key ASCII is greater than or equal to 65, and key ASCII is less than or equal to 90. And I'm going to put this first block in parentheses. And this is the first consideration. And I'm going to say, or key ASCII is greater than or equal to, well, what's the next number here? It needs to be 97 all the way to 122. Greater than or equal to 97. And key ASCII is less than or equal to 122. Then, okay, that's our if-then statement. And there's our end if. So, first of all, if this says, is it between these two things, meaning is it uppercase, or the other consideration is it lowercase. If it's one of those two, then we'll allow it. So, fine and good. Otherwise, key ASCII equals 0 once again, which disables it. So let's try that out really quick. So I'm going to click here. No numbers are allowed. So I'm going to type 1, 2, 3. Nothing. What about A, B, C? What about capital A, B, C? What about an exclamation point? What about period? Okay, good. None of those are working. So this is only, let me hit Alt F11. I should say alphabet only. Alphabet only. Okay. Now the next thing that we're going to do, and then we'll actually probably end this video after this one. I'm going to control click and drag. Now we're going to do only characters. Any character, no number. Okay. Let me expand that one just a wee bit. Any character, no numbers though. Okay. So that's very similar to what we did right here, only the opposite. Do you remember when we said is it 0 through 9? Basically the numbers 0 through 9 that allow it. So what I would do is I would just negate that statement. It'd be the opposite. So we're going to go here, copy this. We got to go to the key press event for TextBox 7. And now what I did a moment ago is I copied this if-then statement. I'm going to paste it here, but I'm going to change it. So this is going to be any character except for numbers. Okay, so we're going to say if, and I'm going to go ahead and put a parentheses around this particular block, this particular logical statement here. And now I'm going to say that block right there, I'm going to say not. Okay, so if not, it's 0 through 9. So anything else is permissible now, then allow it. Otherwise, if it is, if it is a number, then we would disable that. So let's try that out. So this is any character except for no numbers. So I could do the exclamation mark. I could do a period. I could do A, B, C. I have the caps locks on. I could do 1, 2. Oh, wait, 1, 2, 3 won't work. So only numbers are disabled in this particular instance. If you want to download this free workbook, it is available to you. Go ahead and click on the link in the video description. If you'd like to take a look at some of other Excel Premium video and course contents to take your Excel learning, to make Excel do your work for you, and to learn how to build real programs and build out automated reports and things like that, click on the link, the special offer that's appearing on your screen right now. Don't forget to click like, subscribe, and click on the notifications icon if you want to learn more of this good stuff, the free lessons that come out every week. And don't forget to click below and leave any comments or questions that you may have. We'd be happy to help you with that. And thanks again for watching, and God bless.